The project I have taken up since then is to become a local accountant. I decided to learn about the money and the numbers inside the university. And I did that because in the early 90s was when student fees started to go up. And I say, this is going to have some important political implications for what the future of this university is going to be. The people at the top will say, the numbers are such and such, and therefore we have to do this. And I thought it would be good to have someone with a skeptical attitude and say, no, there's another way to read those numbers. And that's the kind of work I do. For a couple of examples. The university says regularly that student fees cover 30% of the cost of education. I believe that's a lie and a fraud. I believe that undergraduate fees now cover the full cost of undergraduate education. Now, to do that calculation, I have to get in a big fight with my great friend George Lakeoff, because there are different views on the relation between research and teaching at the graduate level, at the undergraduate level, and this is a big university with many different styles of things going on. So that's a very controversial issue, but it's for sure that the university lies about it, and their particular lie is not very helpful. Because when they tell the public and the people in Sacramento that student fees cover only 30% of the cost of education, what are they telling those people? You can cut our budget because we'll raise student fees some more. Another bit of numerical exercise I do is look at employment statistics and draw a nice graph showing over a 10-year period, students have increased by 30%, overall staff has increased by 30%, and high-level management has increased by 118%. So I get more data and look into that. And I write a paper that shows in some moderate detail that there appears to be, unless there's a legitimate explanation, something like $600 million a year being wasted on administrative bureaucracy. And if the people in charge have any sense, they should look into this and either justify it or clean it up. And of course, that gets ignored. But, you know, these are interesting things to work on. Now, the reality of what one has to deal with these days is not just the numbers, they're a tool, but it's about politics. And Tim Clark gave a particular political view of the world and history and what education and what higher education is about. And George Lakeoff gave a very contemporary political view of the financial problems of California and a very positive program of what to do about it. I want to focus my politics on the other thing that I do. I not only look at the numbers, I go and listen to regents at their meetings. It's a very boring exercise, but I always pick up interesting things. So let me tell you some of the impressions I've gotten lately. For several years, people on the Board of Regents have said, hey, you know, the state funding is going down, and what are we going to do about it? And a couple of times they've appointed a special commission to go off in the back and try to solve problems. I always complain about secret meetings. They know how to ignore me. And nothing has come out of that, except this year, with the enormous budget funds coming down from Sacramento, they went ahead and appointed a new commission that is really going to do the job this time. So the July meeting of the Board of Regents, the chairman of the board announced the formation of a new, it's called the University of California Commission on the Future. And I wrote to some high-level official saying, that's a fairly pretentious title. You know? And he said, yeah, I know, but if you do it the other way, the future of UC, the acronym comes out a little embarrassing. that is the level of genius that we have at the administration of the university. When the regents talk, as they frequently do in public, they say there are three principles that guides them in shaping the university in the future: quality, access, and affordability. Quality means the research reputation of the faculty. Access means, well, access to me means everything. That is the difference, as George said, between the private universities and the public universities. How do you decide you're entering undergraduate class? At the private universities, they are very exclusive. At the public universities, we are very inclusive. You set some academic standards, and the old master plan formula is anyone who meets these criteria. You can argue about the criteria, but once they're set up, every citizen of California who meets that can come, and there'll be money provided. The education will go forward. The private universities have a very different mission. They are to perpetuate a particular set of elites, and the mission of the public universities is to create a larger set of elites who can challenge those exclusive elites, and that gives a little bit more life to the idea of democracy. And that's a damn good thing, and that's worth protecting, and that's what this fight is mostly about. So they have appointed this new commission, which had its first meeting a week ago, and I went and listened to it, and they gave speeches in which they said, this is a few regents, a number of administrators, a few faculty people, a couple of outside folks. And they said that we have no agenda, we haven't made up our minds, a completely open process. Of course, you don't really want to believe that. And the proof is what came out last week, President Udall's particular budget proposals for next year, which will be delivered to the regents, I think, this Wednesday, and they'll discuss it, and then they'll approve it formally in November. Massive raises in undergraduate fees, 32% increase by this time next year. Also something called differential fees. That means, well, you know, it's more expensive to educate students in engineering than in anthropology, so we'll charge them some extra money. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to equal it. That doesn't mean they're going to lessen the fees for students in anthropology. It's just an excuse to get more money in. And that leads to interesting questions like, where does that money go? Does it stay in the engineering school? Or so that's standard internal academic politics. So fees will go up, differential fees, and then also non-resident students are going to be enlarged. So already the president, a few months ago, sent a charge to the academic senates on each campus. What is your enrollment plans for next year? And in particular, what do you want to do about numbers of non-resident students? What's interesting about non-resident students? Oh, they pay a big wad of cash on top of all other fees, about $24,000 a year, just to attend the university here. So that's already, these things are already in the works. These are major steps forward in the privatization of the university, changing it from this open public thing to more and more like the private thing, exclusive. If you've got to come from a rich family, that's great. Otherwise, well, the regents will say, we don't really like this solution, but it's the best we can do. It's all the fault of the legislature. They wouldn't send us the money. And, you know, probably there'll be financial aid to take care of the problem of raising tuition, but that's somebody else's problem. Our job is to maintain the